I'm Sir Gilbert Levine, Princeton class of 1971, and I majored in music. I was raised in New York in a house that had no classical music, but there was a piano in my house. And I was drawn to that piano at the age of 3, and I stood up. I couldn't sit, but I stood up and reached for the keys. And from the time I was 3, all throughout my life, I've been incredibly attracted to the sounds that music makes, the beauty of music. If you remember way back, Leonard Bernstein did young people's concerts. And I saw this guy, this incredibly active, this engaging spirit, filled with the love of music. And he was waving his arms, and the orchestra, the New York Philharmonic, was making this incredible sound. And I began to think, maybe I can do that. Got into Juilliard, and it was just, there were no better musicians, young musicians in the world. I was asked by a friend to come and meet a professor named Louis Lockwood on the faculty at Princeton. And Louis said, "Why are you wasting your time at Juilliard? You have a brain. Feed your brain and you will feed your musical soul." And so I did the unthinkable, and I transferred, which is not done, to Princeton University. It made me the musician I am today. It created the atmosphere for me to understand the world in a way that I would never have understood. What I got at Princeton was that Peter Westergaard, who was a really important composer and was the conductor of the orchestra, allowed me to conduct as much as I wanted. And I worked really hard at conducting that orchestra, and it became my orchestra. To get that opportunity as an undergraduate was incredible. I graduated from Princeton in 1971. I began conducting fairly soon really wonderful orchestras. I was doing really all that I wanted to do. I spent a year in Yale Graduate School, and I had met Krzysztof Penderecki, a very famous Polish composer. He said, "Would you come to Krakow and conduct?" I said, "Sure." At the end of the concert in Krakow, Penderecki comes backstage and he said, "How would you like to be music director here?" This was communism. I had a family. They couldn't pay any money. I accepted the position, retrospect insanity, but it changed my life. 5 days in Krakow, and I am invited by the Cardinal Archbishop of Krakow, Cardinal Maharski, to meet him. At the end of that interview, he said, "You must tell all you've told to me to the Holy Father." I go home for midwinter break. I come back, and there's an envelope on my desk, and it's an invitation to go to Rome. And I went down to Rome, and 2 days later, I was sitting in the private library of the Pope in the Vatican with John Paul alone, having a real meeting with the Pope. And it began a relationship that lasted 17 years and involved a deep spiritual friendship. And I did with him concerts, literally with him. I brought him the papal concert to commemorate the Shoah. He said, "I like this idea, let's do it." He understood that it was important. We did a papal concert of reconciliation as the answer to the Iraq War, which he was absolutely against. Many, many concerts all over the world in between, in Seoul, Korea, in St. Paul, Minnesota, in Munich, in Krakow, in Paris, all over the world. John Paul was canonized, made a saint in 2014. And I had been thinking about where to do a concert on the most important themes of his pontificate, which is bringing people of all faiths together. I believed it should be in Washington. It should be in the United States. We are a multicultural society. We are a society that honors people of all faiths. It's in our foundational values. Days after the canonization ceremony, which I attended in Rome, I flew back and conducted a concert at Constitution Hall in Washington on our foundational values of what we are as a people. The knighthoods that I have been accorded by 3 popes now recognize this same commitment to peace through music. That to me is incredible. That music has that force, that the same force that I felt as a 3-year-old at the piano, that I couldn't name and I didn't understand, is still not only alive in me, but can be broadcast, can be spread, can be shared, and millions of people have watched these concerts and become part of the artistic experience, and most importantly, part of the peace through music experience, of understanding what music can do as a language beyond words in bringing people of completely diverse backgrounds together.
In all the land resounds the